Welcome back to the show, and we'll zoom right into the budget conversation pretty shortly. But for those of you who missed, and I'm not quite sure a lot of you did miss because it's been in the news all week, but here are highlights of the budget presented as well as the position taken by the NPP minority in Parliament.
The 10% withholding tax on winning from lottery, otherwise known as the betting tax. Mr. Speaker, we will abolish the electronic transfer levy, e-levy of 1%.
Also engage the youth of Ghana in a dialogue on social media. During my engagement with the youth, it was revealed that 321 pharmacists who were employed since June 2023 have not received their salaries. We will take urgent steps to remedy this situation immediately.
Speaker, we have also allocated an amount of 1.5 billion Ghana cedis for agriculture for economic transformational program, of which Feed Ghana, Ghana Grain Development Project, Vegetable Development Project, and Nkoko Nketenkete are all key components of the program. So, Speaker, another amount of 100 million Ghana cedis has been allocated for the payment of monthly allowance to all assembly members.
Remember brother Modi, who led Israelite from the bondage of Egypt, the wonder 40 years and 49. They disobey the voice of God. They disobey the voice of Jah.
Minister has announced that he is going into the bond markets. They are going to open up the bond markets. And I'm saying that this is not good advice.
A number of issues were raised by many Ghanaian youth and small businesses. They were expecting that this new economic policy 2025 will address, among other things, cost of living challenges, unemployment, investment in infrastructure. Unfortunately, these issues have not been addressed by the economic policy.
It will be very, very important to see her in action on the floor. Debate the president's economic and financial policy. Unfortunately, the vice president has very busy things to do. She doesn't want to come and be nodding her head.
That's the lowdown on the 2025 budget presented to Parliament by Mr. Dr. Kwaku Asante, the Minister for Finance. So connecting with us on this very important conversation about the budget and what it is that the Ghanaian people, young people, and everyone has in it. Harrison Mati is a restaurant owner and connects with us via Zoom. Harrison, it's good to have you connect with us. If you can, unmute.
All right.
Great, Harrison. Great, it's good to have you, Harrison. And then Dr. George Anagli is a doctor of pharmacy, and you heard there, right at the start of the presentation of the budget, Dr. Kwaku Asante referenced some more than 200 doctors of pharmacy who have been working for close to 3 years now who have not received their salary. He said they got to know their plight on social media and is going to work to deal with it. One of their leaders who's been championing this agenda on social media has been Dr. George Anagli, and he's also connecting with us on Zoom. Dr. George, it's good to have you connect with us.
Hi. It's good to be with you.
Great.
Good evening.
Great. And then Ebenezer Newman Afanyidazi, it's an editor with us here at myjoyonline.com. Ebenezer Afanyidazi, it's good to have you connect with us.
Thank you, Kwaku.
And then Akins Opoku is also connecting with us. Akins.
Yeah, Kwaku.
Good to have you.
Great. And pretty shortly, we will be joined by, hey, Ekins, I see you are in a member of parliament. Oh, you are not a member of parliament. Wow.
Hey.
Okay. Well, we'll pretty shortly be joined by Julius Kwame Anthony as well to share their perspectives on this. But, guys, the big conversation is the IGP dismissal. And I want to pick brief comments about that. And for those of you who think that it's a sensitive issue for you don't want to go there, I would understand. Before we zoom right into the conversation of the budget, let me start with you, Ebenezer Fanyidazi. The public have been divided about this. Well, we've seen people jubilating, police officers. I've seen videos of the new IGP returning to his office after being sworn in, and police officers throwing cash, lying on the floor in front of his vehicle. Some of them calling today an Independence Day for the Ghana Police Service. What's going on?
Kwaku, this is shocking, and probably unprecedented. I mean, I have, in my 20 years of this work, I've not seen this before. And so in the past, we've had IGPs leave and new ones come. And you don't have all this drama around it. And so if this is happening, then it means there's really something in there that ought to be looked at. But hey, sometimes I say that sometimes we may know only the value of leaders when they really leave the scene. And then you have probably a proper assessment of it. But I mean, it will be disrespectful or a bit insensitive to overlook the plight of those within the service or the concerns that they have as against we on the outside that were receiving probably the benefits of some of the policies that the former immediate past IGP put in place. And so he had constituents to serve, the public, the appointing authority, and then the service within. And from the look of things and the things that are coming out, it's beginning to look like those within did not like how he served or how he led. And so I think that we can have a one statement on it. It will just remain as it is, and probably in the future we'll probably learn to understand more. But also I think that let's not overlook the fact that sometimes change makers face opposition, and it's a global thing. It's a human thing. It could be that he genuinely was pursuing some change, and in the way he did it, it came off as an inconvenience or discomfort to people. And so, you know what? We are happy to see this guy out because it was a bit too hard probably on us. And so it's how we look at it. But then also the concern is the other legal issues that are coming up. And we know the court case that has been on since 2024. But then there was an attempt at an injunction just to stop the president from doing this. And he had to go on because he believes that he also satisfied the constitutional provision. And maybe going forward, we'll have clarity on how to deal with especially leaders of security agencies in terms of how they are appointed and probably how the number of years they serve and how they are removed. I think those are the nitty-gritties that hopefully going forward, maybe through the constitutional review or through some policies, we'll get some clarity on it, because I also think that is probably one of the first times you have an IGP retiring at 55 years. So the question we are asking, what happens to Dampare? Is he going to be there as he holds his COP rank and work under the new IGP, or probably the government would think of giving him another role somewhere? So it's a whole Tony issue. Probably we need to look at it. Though that going forward, we don't repeat some of these things. But I think that, I mean, we have also seen IGPs appointed, fired, replaced. And so for some, they don't see anything wrong with it. And so
did
it's
you
all
see it coming though? Because
me.
prior to yesterday, there have been a lot of fake news on and off. Today you hear IGP sacked, and then the office of the police will deny IGP still at post. Then nothing will happen from the government corridors. Then up until I think Wednesday evening, where things started getting a bit hot, when a lot of media houses started reporting that IGP Dampare was going to lose his job, and that in fact he has already been dismissed, only for Felix Kwachu to put out that statement yesterday.
Well, I think it's not surprising, to be frank, because to think that even the government that appointed him, under that government, there was probably an attempt to get him out of the system. I mean, we know all the committee probe and all that came. And even when Yahono today, who is IGP, was appointed as deputy IGP in charge of operations, that was even an issue, because according to those who went to court, the president had no power to even give him a direct role, like just appoint him as deputy IGP. You have no power to give him in charge of operations, because he was only going to work on the instructions of the IGP. And so it is actually not surprising. And also when this government came to power, people have been asking, is he going to stay? Is he going? And I think the surprise was that I'm told that in most of the recent past IGPs, They've been moved quite quickly when a new government comes within January. But this time we saw January, February, and we even entered March. And so it was a bit uncertain whether he was going to go or he will stay. And so for me, but also it's not a surprise to me at all. It's not a surprise.
Higgins.
Kwaku, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes, I mean, for me, on the issue of the IGP being sacked, I think that the president did not err once, he's following the provisions of the Constitution. I have a principle and a personal view that as a president, especially matters of security, you need somebody that at every point in time, his loyalty is to the state, one, and his loyalty is to your vision as well. And so if at every point in time, the Constitution gives the president the mandate, right, to appoint, chiefs of, the Inspector General of Police, and he has done that without faulting any provisions in our Constitution, I don't think that it is, something that we should worry our head over, except that I think that the timing in which the IGP is being sacked, because you heard people from the NDC, throwing news that the IGP is gone, the IGP has been sacked, and all of that, and finally we saw the letter, yesterday, and how swiftly, he has been sworn in and all of that, and so I really think that this is something that was in the right of the president. He has exercised his constitutional mandate, and then we leave it as such. I can only wish and hope that the new IGP work tirelessly to ensure that the safety of this country is intact.
Right, Akins. Interesting thoughts. Dr. Nagli, I want to know what you thought about the tenure of the IGP. He served since 2021, and there are those who say he really paid his dues. There are those who are divided. I mean, look at the view people have expressed about his handling of protests and all that. Where do you stand on IGP's tenure, Dr. Dampare, his tenure in office?
Yes.
Hello, Doc. Can you hear me?
I think I'm not so surprised that he's been removed from the position, because, I mean, I was even expecting this to happen somewhere in January or even early February, but we're in March and it's happening. I'm not so surprised because we have a new king. There should be new rules, and so I understand. But the only surprise is where I saw police officers today.
Dr. Nagli, you have to position yourself well and probably look at the internet again. I think it's breaking.
The IGP's work. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. It's been on and off, but let's try and manage.
Oh, sorry about that. Is it okay now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hi. Hello, Kwaku.
Yes, Dr. George, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
All right, that's okay. So yes. So in my opinion, I think the IGP wasn't bad. Dr. Dampare was not bad. He was pretty okay for the work he's done. He's done exceptionally well. And the only thing, or the only dent on his shirt, is the fact that they fixed the country convenience, how we were handled, how the protesters were handled. That is the only fault that I see with him. And there was no drastic punishment or measures as to the people or the service people that did that to the protesters. Aside that, I think he was okay. He was good, and I don't really understand, and I'm so surprised how the other police officers or the police officers were jubilating, happy, jumping around, sharing money, throwing money around, and all that. I'm actually surprised at that. But for his removal, I'm not surprised about that. It's normal. New king, new rule. So I mean, I'm okay with that. Yeah.
Right. Harrison, I mean, you're a business owner, and the businesses you interface with the police a lot. I mean, you need security to be able to go about your work. And you have a restaurant and you're operating deep into the evening, and there are no police patrols in and around where you work. It certainly is a source of concern. What are your key takeaways? I mean, if somebody asks you on the street, what you remember this IGP, the former IGP, for, what would it be for you as a business owner?
So for me, I'll say that he improved police visibility. I mean, I love the introduction of the motorbikes where, I mean, the moment there's an issue, you're likely to get a police responding. Within the time he was IGP, had engaged the police twice with issues that I had to deal with crime, and I like the response that I got compared to what I had in under previous IGPs. So I think Dampari, to a large extent, sought to change the police service. Like the other contributors said, not everybody likes change. So my question is, are they jubilating for their selfish interests, or they are jubilating for the police service in general and for the Ghanaian in general? So I am, however, not surprised that he's been changed. As like everyone has said, it's within the remit of the president, right, to change him, to decide whoever he wants to work with. And I love what he's done, and we hope that it will be continued.
Right. Okay. Then let's get right into the budget. And I really wish we could get into this conversation about the IGP a lot more, but we'll certainly find some more time to dive right into it. Ebenezer Afanyidazi, I know you want to take leave of us, but please stay. I want to ask you one question about the budget, then you can take leave of us. Let me start from you, Harrison. As a business owner, do you get any sense that this budget really took into consideration the things that will let your business grow? And as businesses, how have you been reacting to the 2025 budget?
Quickly, once again, let me say that this budget, the approach even coming up with a budget has been different. The finance minister going to Makola himself to engage traders, the economic dialogue that happened, everything, industry players, everybody making contribution to the preparation of the budget. The Statistical Service releasing their reports, 2024 reports, the day before the budget reading was different. My reaction is the budget seems to address the issue of not just business owners, the youth and Ghanaians in general. I am more than happy that the e-levy will be going off, the electronic transfer tax will be going off, COVID will be going off. They are looking at retooling the VAT. And I say that it's as a win for us as Ghanaians and a win for us as business owners. The key issue is the exchange rate. If that will be changed, if that could be worked on, if that could be stabilized, I'm sure that businesses will thrive well. Because for me, who relies on chicken or buy a lot of stuff from imported stuff, because we are not able to produce a lot here in Ghana, also because price of feed keeps going up, everything keeps going up. I think that the budget has come in to stabilize the economy and put money in the average Ghanaian's pocket.
I'm sure you pretty much like that that they say will lead to the domestic market being able to produce its own, chicken and all that. But great one there. Harrison, please hold it there for me. I'll come back to you. But Dr. George Anagli, your group did get a mention in the 2025 budget as pharmacists who've been working for all this while and not getting your due salaries. What is your story? What exactly has been going on with you? Because I've been seeing it on X, but for those uninitiated, what has been going on with you and your colleagues, obviously?
Yes. So we you see, we did FAMD, we read FAMD, that's Doctor of Pharmacy. So KUST, UHAS, UG, everyone, we all graduated in 2022. And to become a pharmacist, a full-fledged pharmacist, you would have to undergo a 1-year mandatory housemanship, right? You're already a pharmacist anyways. You've written your exam, you paid your dues and everything, and you've passed. Now you are supposed to go and understudy a senior pharmacist. And that is what we do as we call housemanship or house job. So that is what we did. The government posted us through the Ministry of Health and the Pharmacy Council. They posted us to various hospitals in somewhere 2023 in June. So we went out. We were posted. In person, I went to the Volta region. I was posted to the Volta region. So I worked in the Volta region for 1 year. And so for the 1 year, the whole year, June to June 2024, we were working. There was nothing like salary. There was nothing like allowances. Nothing at all. We were just, working for the love for the love we have for the job. We were just working. No one quit. Right? We didn't want to stop the job, and we didn't want to leave let our clients or our patients stranded. And so we were working. Somewhere 5 months or 6 months into the job, we started making noise. We started questioning what's going on. We've been working for 6 months, we've been working for 7 months, 8 months, and nothing to show for it. No salaries, how we eat, how where we sleep, where we how we commute to work and all that. Nobody seems to care. So we started making noise. We came to the media and all that. We went as far as getting a question or getting our issue to the vice president, right? That was Dr. Baumia. Our issue went to his desk. He knows about it. He knew about it, right? The relevant quarters knew about our situation, but we were not even. They didn't even acknowledge the fact that there are some 321 people or pharmacists working without salary. So you can imagine how heartbreaking and how ignored we felt, right? How heartbroken and ignored we felt. And so, yes, that has been our story. So fast forward, new government. This was actually, I think I mentioned it to the finance minister. This issue was one of my driving force as to why I pushed. I pushed on Twitter myself. I pushed my friends, my colleagues that we need to get this government out. These people have been so cruel to us. We've done everything possible to get our money paid, but they didn't mind. So I rallied. I got people. We voted them out. New government came, and we didn't even have to do a lot. That one, I would have to say it, right? We didn't have to do a lot. It took just a Twitter space on Sunday, right? Twitter space, that's Kalije space, with the finance minister. And then I mentioned our issue to the finance minister. Come on, I was not even expecting, I expected him to, say something, tell us something, what is going on. But then what you could do about the whole thing. But he sent it to the parliament, the floor of parliament, right? So this alone is a big deal to me in person, or to me as a person, and to my colleagues. This is like a relief, even though the monies have not yet been paid. This is like a relief of a sort to us. And yes, here we are. And I'm actually glad that I went on that space that day. And then
so since
we mentioned our issue.
Great. Yeah. Since you mentioned it to the minister and he acknowledged it in the budget, has there been any movement apart from acknowledging it? Because when he spoke to Evans Mensah on PM Express, he mentioned it again and said he was going to work on it. But has there been any movement at all? Have you been reached out by the health ministry as regards to processes to get this done?
Okay, so let me even mention this as well. We actually sent the case to court. We sued the Ministry of Health, and so they reached out to us actually that they would want us to talk and settle the matter away from court. So that is where we are now. We've been reached out to, and then our next line of action is to sit down and have a conversation as to how the compensation will be like. So that is where we are now.
Right. Eben, this is not a thing that, as sad as it is not really new. I know teachers and nurses who are posted and they have to take so long. What do you make of the plight of these persons and all the noise they had to make, and they had to take a new finance minister to raise their plight to the level that he has gotten to? Is it cruelty? What is it exactly? It is with sometimes leadership that allows people to post people's daughters and sons, people's fathers and mothers to places to work for 2 years, 3 years, and not a drop in salary paid.
Kwaku, it's sad, but it's really not surprising because certainly the pharmacists are not the first group to experience this in this country. We've seen teachers experience it, other nurses. It speaks to the level of inefficiencies in the public system in particular, in terms of the structure and what people have to go through to get through the system and get paid and all that. We still haven't really improved much. And you would think that with the coming of the digitalization and all that, we'll probably go ahead faster than we used to be. But also this one, I'm sure that it's not even just a question of the inefficiencies. It could probably be about money issues, because we know what the government that left power really went through in the last few years, in the last year and all that. So I'm sure it was a...
Well, I think I have some challenge with Ebenezer's line there. Thank you very much, Ebenezer Fanyirazi, for making that point. And Akis, this is why I bring you in. So a lot of people have received this budget sort of really well. You look at the doctors of pharmacy who really are happy that at least the applied has been raised to this point, and they are expecting some action to get their money. Are you from the same stock who believe that this is a budget that really resets the foundation of our economy and takes us to the next level, as the NDC and many people who subscribe to that view have been expressing since the budget was presented?
Kwaku, I think that as a young person, listening to the finance minister presenting the budget on the floor of parliament, what I was looking at was juxtaposing the promises that the NDC made during the campaign trail to the young people, to the women of this country, and to the Ghanaian people in general, vis-a-vis the policy directions that will be contained in the budget. I must say that some of the promises that they made to the Ghanaian people, especially the youth of this country, they followed to their words, and it was contained in the budget. I mean, who will not be happy, when e-levy is scrapped off? In fact, e-levy is one of the taxes that, as a young person, consistently I criticized that it was disingenuous, to tax digital, the usage of digital platforms. We saw the scrapping of the famous betting tax, which is also good for, the boys and the girls. I mean, it's weekends. But I must also say that the budget also failed to critically look at certain promises that the NDC made to the Ghanaian people. I mean, one of the cardinal campaign promises that the NDC had was the cost of living argument, or the cost of living campaign. And so we have thought that this budget would contain policy directions that would look at the prices of fuel coming down, the prices of food and commodities also coming down, and also the prices of electricity tariffs and water tariffs coming down. But critically examining the budget, I mean, I did not see any policy direction that points to that fact. Because one, Kwaku, if you are saying that you are going to reduce the cost of living, then I'm looking at, one, the electricity bills and the water bills coming down for me. But if you read the budget and you tell me that every quarter you are going to have adjustments in water tariff and electricity tariff, then it is very alarming, because I dare to say that the adjustment that they are talking about is not about reduction. Because we had the energy minister before the reading of this budget telling us that the IMF is proposing a 58% increment in electricity tariffs. And so if that expression is found in your budget, that there will be quarterly adjustment of electricity tariffs, then Kwaku, as a young person who lives alone, who pay my bills alone, then it is a cause for alarm. Again, Kwaku, they also campaign on job creation, employment. You remember the famous 24-hour economy? Or the Asempa Nabo. Kwaku, you remember that song?
Yeah, I do. It was sung in Parliament.
Yes, and so as a finance minister and as a young person, I was listening to the finance minister, trying to find clear policy directions that seeks to create employment opportunities for myself and the teeny young people who are scattered across the length and breadth of this country. But Kwaku, you find this government eliminating a key initiative like the One District, One Factory. You are campaigning for a 24-hour economy, Kwaku. A 24-hour economy hinged on the manufacturing sector and the industry sector. And so if you are eliminating a policy initiative like the One District, One Factory, which seeks to create an enabling environment for the private sector to establish more factories, which will even help your 24-hour economy, and you tell me that you are eliminating such a policy, then it is a cause for alarm as a young person. Kweku, if you tell me that you are eliminating an initiative like the You Start initiative, then as a young person, there's a cause for alarm for me. And so, Kweku, the budget contained certain policy directions that favored the youth. However, it also contains certain elements that, for me, I think that the government reneged on the promises that they gave to the Ghanaian people. For example, my mother in Asante Achimabo, who campaigned heavily for the NDC because the NDC told them that they are going to establish a women's development bank. Kweku, I was waiting for a clear policy direction on the women development bank. But we just had a paltry 51.3 million Ghana cedis that was earmarked for, this women development bank. Meanwhile, we are told that the minimum requirement for capitalization alone is over 400 million, Ghana cedis. And so, Kweku, I think that maybe in the mid-year budget, the finance minister should come again and revise some of its policy direction to really reflect the promises that they give to the Ghanaian people.
I mean, interesting. Kabunate is connecting with us, and Kabunate is a communication professional as well. Kabu, you've heard from Akins, who really believe that while the removal of e-levy is really one in a good direction, generally he does not believe that the budget gave hope to Ghanaians. Job creation and all that, he didn't see that. He didn't feel that in the budget, especially when the NDC really did campaign a lot on the grounds of creating jobs and coming into office and sacking people who had been employed by the SWAT government, all of that.
Kwaku, let's put the whole discussion into perspective. I just jumped into the show and I just heard the previous speaker talk about a paltry sum of 51.3 million Ghana cedis. The question you want to ask is, what is the juxtaposition that he does? What is the comparison? Did we have any women's development bank initiative or women's development, injection into their welfare, into their financial, in terms of accessing of loan in the previous government? And I dare answer that 51.3 million to him is a paltry, but to Ghanaians, it's a clear policy direction that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama wants to tackle the issue of underfunding of women in setting up their businesses and then empowering them economically. It's a great start, and you want to give credits to the new government. I mean, you see, Rome was not built in just a day. It was a process. And then he answers himself that he's expecting at the mid-year budget to move to other areas. If you listen to the budget, the budgetary allocation carefully, we are at a crunch of our history where there were a lot of mismanagement, and so you need to set your priorities right. And it's a foundation. If I look at the budget, look at the big push allocation, 13.85 billion, Ghana cedis in there. And the big push, we tend to forget that it is to inject money into the economy, expand infrastructure, which has a ripple effect in employment. So you may not see necessarily and saying that, well, we are putting this amount of money in creating jobs, but it's an economy and one sector has a ripple effect over the other. The big push is one, especially when you inherited an economy which is on oxygen. You want to see how you can inject money into the system to make sure that Ghanaians are comfortable. If you also look at the budget, very humane. I mean, first of all, let me start on with continuity. We see a massive allocation of, I think, 3-point-something billion cedis in the free SHS policy. And this tells you clearly what the president promised, that I'm not going to scrap off the free SHS policy. This is a demonstrable effort towards saying that I'm keeping to my word. And for me, the government has shown that we are not just scrapping things, we are not just reviewing and resetting things, but policies which were good and it's inherent to the benefit of the ordinary Ghanaian, we are going to continue. So the theme of continuity for me really jumps out. And I think the previous speaker or the NPP should be very, grateful to His Excellency for for staying true to his words and continuing policies like the free SHS policy, which is impacting a lot of lives. So beyond that, look at this no fee stress thing.
Okay, I'll come back to that and we'll get into some of those specifics. I want to dial it back to George Anagley. Apart from the fact that he's a doctor of pharmacist who has not been paid for so long, he's also in the health profession. What you heard about Agenda 111 and the MDP have said, listen, no program so far exists to fund the Agenda 111 facilities. These health facilities that the government, erstwhile government, did tout as a game changer in ensuring that all communities in the country, all districts, are fully represented in terms of getting these hospitals. You've also heard from Mahama Care, this thing the city are going to do to deal with chronic diseases. Did the budget give you any hope in terms of being able to take care of the health need of the Ghanaian people?
Yes. So Kwaku, this budget that for me, I will speak in the health sector. This budget somewhat, I would say, gives hope when we talk about when we talk about our health sector. It gives some hope, right? First, let me talk about the fact that the government's during the budget reading, they mentioned the fact that they've uncapped the NHI National Health Insurance Levy. And this one, a lot of Ghanaians are not really paying attention to this. But we in the health sector, especially those who have worked in the government hospitals, really appreciate this because 9.93 billion allocated for NHI levy is a big deal. One, why am I saying this? One, you go to when you ask your parents, especially those who go to these government hospitals and all that, they will tell you, they go to the hospital and they tell them this drug is not covered by insurance, so you'd have to buy. So they write the prescription for them. They go to private facilities, the pharmacies, and buy. Right? Quite a appreciable number of our medications are not covered. And so if we uncap this NHI levy, and then it gives room, this gives an opportunity for most of these drugs to be covered, right? And this is a good news. This is a good news to the ordinary Ghanaian. And so this one, I appreciate the government for that particular initiative that they've taken. The second thing is the Mahama Care that you mentioned. You know, I would say that in Ghana, one of the most fatal conditions or a class of conditions that kill our Ghanaians or kill our people are the non-communicable diseases. So we are talking about hypertension, we are talking about diabetes, we are talking about cancer, we are talking about some of these chronic conditions, right? And setting aside a fund to at least help or augment the treatment of these conditions is something that we need to actually clap for our president for, if they actually go, by what they've mentioned. So my prayer is that they've mentioned very nice policies, they've mentioned nice initiatives. My prayer is that they go through just as they've mentioned. They just go according to what they told us. When they do, I would say that in the health sector, they will have a really, really big impact or major impact. When we come to Agenda 111, for me, the MPP's Agenda 111 is one of the policies or the programs that I commend the MPP government for, or the previous government for, because this particular project, if it goes through or it becomes complete, that is 101 or 111 hospitals or clinics, right? Or hospitals. This will create more employment for doctors, more employment for pharmacists, more employment for med lab scientists, more employment for a whole lot of people. We have nurses as well. We have a chunk of nurses at home, a lot of them at home, a lot of medical lab scientists at home. And this hospital's opening will create avenue for a lot of them to be absorbed into the government sector. And so this one, for me, I would admonish the government I would advise that the government should go ahead, as they've promised, to complete some of these hospitals. I was actually disappointed when I heard the president talk about the fact that none of the hospitals, not even one, was operational. I was actually disappointed, given that the money that was spent. But I would also say, never say never. President Mahama should actually go ahead and try and complete all the hospitals, and this would be a great avenue for most of our health professionals to get jobs in the country. Yeah.
Harrison, a healthy country. Once we are good and we are healthy, then people troop to your restaurant and they get to eat and they get to feel all that. Early on, when you spoke, you spoke about the dollar to CD exchange rate. The finance minister himself acknowledges again in that interview with PM Express that the exchange rate is something that everyone is speaking about. I mean, you do anything and you do times 15, times 16. That is how much you're going to pay, and everything is dollar denominated in this country that is supposed to be spent in the city. Did you hear any other thing in there, particularly the ones about industrialization and all that? That gave you hope that for those of you who own business, this economy is going to get to a stable front, and that the money you're putting in your business are because at this point in time, running business is one of the difficult things in this country.
Something on development.
So again, the amount allocated for the big push thing is one that will support people going who are in the running their own business or running SMEs. That's one. Women's Development Bank, I also believe that will also expand the SME space. There are a few things. The 24-hour economy, I know, is also hinged on the private sector, leading the agenda for the 24-hour economy. And I mean, if other businesses are going to run 24 hours, it also means that for those of us who are selling food, they have to run 24 hours, or at least because you know that there's a population out there that will be relying on your food survive while they're working in the night. So for me, I'll say that everything is in the point, and we look forward to, as early days yet, we look forward to how everything will play out. I am excited about this year's budget. I'm in a place where I'm happy that the dollar could be stabilized, and we could also produce what we eat if we can expand the poultry sector with the punching, all these things going on. We can produce our own protein, produce more rice locally. That'll be good business for us. And also for the betting tax that has been off, that also puts a lot of disposable income in the pockets of the youth, and that will enhance the entertainment industry, the hospitality industry, that a lot of people have money to spend. And also for those of us who are selling, someone wants to pay you with mobile money, tell them to add the charges to it, then they don't, or you are paying somebody, they are telling you to add the charges to it. All these things, I believe, will be up once the bill is sent to Parliament and it's okay. These levies will go, and it will be a big push for SMEs. And I hope that it will also improve the digital economy as well.
Great. I mean, finally, let me give you this word, Kabu. What do you sense is the reason for the optimism in this budget? Or do you sense it's really just run of the mill? Because I recall in 2017, Ken Ofori-Atta did get a similar reception when he presented the budget. Abosio Kain, everywhere erupted in cheers, and then things started going south way after some time. What do you think is accounting for this optimism? Because we've heard from George, who's excited about this. We've heard from our friend Harrison, who owns a business, excited about it. Of course, Akins has also raised issues about part of the budget that fills him with excitement, removing the e-levy, but also concern about other places. What do you think is accounting for this sense of optimism?
Well, I mean, sounding very political, and one very sensational thing about the budget is that I think the finance minister has proven that you can speak to the concerns of Ghanaians without necessarily giving scriptural references to back your point. We didn't see any scripture in there. The next one is what I talked about, continuity, quickly identifying the good things that the previous government did, and then injecting monies in free SHS policy as a case. There's a massive fulfillment of campaign promise. And you recall His Excellency talked about 120 days, the kind of things he was going to do. And you could see that a lot of them were reflected in the budget, pumping monies into various areas, the Women's Development Bank, looking at the Humanura program, 100 million Ghana cedis, and then the 100 million Ghana cedi allocation of the National Coders program. I mean, we've not had a government that right after campaigning identifies these policies and inject monies into them. So that's one fresh aspect that, I think this budget is coming with. Now, Kuku, look at the methodology that the finance minister even went about doing that. I mean, he went to ordinary people to interact with them. And mind you, they had also had economic, dialogue forum preceding the presentation of the budget, and so they were able to gauge the atmosphere, the economic atmosphere, and what stakeholders were really looking at. Look at the good one, even preceding the allocation of, in terms of the minimum wage and all that. The president meeting the labor and saying that, bear with me, you are not going to have this allocation this year, but bear with us, and subsequently you're going to do that. And then, Koku, the macro stability too. We've had a government that is scrapping a couple of, taxes, draconian taxes on Ghanaians who complained. First of all, they responded positively to it by scrapping them. And look at the U-turn, look at the macro, stability, the measures they put in place, trying to find how they can block the loopholes and the leakages to be able to raise money to make up for the gap which we have, the scrapping of these budgets. These are going to have. So, and let's also be fair that we have had people in our part of the country suffering, because of tidal wave. We have a government that quickly, we don't know how they were able to mobilize the funds and are able to spare money, but they injected it into the livelihood of these individuals.
I mean, it's interesting because the president had gone there and had assured that the minister in the presentation of the budget definitely was going to make some allocations with respect to the tidal wave issue. I mean, it's great that you bring it up, and allocation was made in the budget. But some messages coming to us. This one from Nana, as always, listening to us from the Spintex Road, says, guys, please, are we able to ask the NPP to stop going on giving press conferences upon press conferences, denying everything the NDC says? Well, in this country, when the NPP took over and told us they've inherited empty coffers, they still cut out a few taxes introduced by their predecessor. The IMF was with us then, and again, the IMF is still here. Let us wait to see where we end up. The NPP must accept their mistakes, as they are not the only humans, and apologize to Ghanaian citizens. Nana from Spintex, thank you very much. This one is responding to George Anagli's issues, where I think Afanyidazi mentioned that money perhaps was not there to pay them. He says, money issues. Do parliamentarians go through this struggling path before getting their salaries, or they process their details into the system the moment they set foot in the corridors of parliament? Thank you. You didn't add your name. This one, Francis in Accra, says, hi, Kwaku, good evening. Please ask the guy talking about what NDC scrapping 1D1F to explain what he understands as 1D1F. It seems he had the budget read, did not listen to it properly. Francis in Accra. Another one from Francis, this time in Medina, says, good evening, Kwaku. I think people should acknowledge that this is only the first budget of the new government. All the promises cannot be fulfilled in this one budget. It has taken 8 years of mismanagement to bring us here. So Mahama Kase Obeya Ampara Obeye. Francis in Medina, thank you very much for sending us that one. Andy Dusty is up next with the library, and you don't have to miss the library. But as always, also tomorrow, Saturday, you don't have to miss News File with Samson Ladi and Yenini at 9 a.m. on Joy FM right here, and also on the Joy News channel. My name is Kwaku Asante. This has been Ghana Connect. Thank you very much, Dr. George Anagli. Thank you very much, Harrison, Kwame Mati, and Collins and I will find some time and come and eat at the restaurant. But also thank you very much, Ebenezer Fanyidazi. Thank you very much, Ekin Sopoku. And then thank you very much, Kabunate, for connecting with us. We'll see you again, same time next week, right here on Ghana Connect.